If you're looking for the easiest way to beat Grandmaster Arms Dealer using easy to acquire weapon loadouts and easy to execute strategies, then you came to the right place. Step one, we're going to talk about the loadouts and builds you want to bring into this Grandmaster Nightfall, and they are very, very important and very particular due to this week's modifier, oscillation. Effectively, what oscillation does is you have two groups of weapons. Group one, as you can see according to the modifier, is scout rifles, pulse rifles, and grenade launchers. Whereas group two is going to be submachine guns and shotguns. And these are the only types of weapons you want to bring into the GM because, as you can see at the very bottom, other weapon types deal significantly less damage. So any bows, any auto rifles, any rocket launchers, anything that is not those 5 weapons has its damage significantly neutered, so you don't really want to mess with them in this GM. Effectively, how this modifier works is by dealing damage with weapons in group 1, you slowly accrue a weapon debuff for weapons in those group or in that group that make them do less damage. Subsequently, as you accrue that debuff for weapons in group 1 to make them do less damage, you accrue a buff for weapons in group 2 to make them do more damage. And obviously vice versa with the debuff on the weapons in group 2, providing the buff to weapons in group 1. So as the modifier implies, with oscillation, you're effectively swapping back and forth between these groups of weapons. So myself and my teammates tested out a whole bunch of stuff, and we landed on 2 different weapon loadouts that felt really strong here. Weapon loadout number 1, which I recommend 2 of your players run, is going to be an SMG in the kinetic slot, preferably with a darkness element affinity if you are running a prismatic subclass, so you can fill up that transcendence meter. This is strictly to have a long range option to be able to swing your oscillation damage stacking buff the other direction, because as you recall, group 2 is SMGs and shotguns require you to be way too close range and are not really ammo efficient for consistently swinging the oscillating damage buff back into being able to buff group 1, which is your scout rifles, pulse rifles, and grenade launchers. So having an SMG, even though there's not overload champions in this strike, is really, really strong for having a primary ammo option to be able to swing that oscillation weapon buff / debuff back the other direction. We'll talk a little bit more about how you're actually going to go about this once we're in the strike. Weapon number 2 is going to be your pulse rifle. Not only can this stun unstoppable champions nice and easy thanks to unstoppable seasonal pulse, but it is in weapon group number 1, which will allow you to, of course, oscillate back and forth with the SMG and shotgun group. Weapon number 3, interestingly enough, is going to be Legend of Acreus. And don't worry if you do not own this weapon. I'm going to hook you up with weapon setup number 2 in just a moment. But if you do have Legend of Acreus, you can acquire it from the Tower Kiosk, I believe, the Lost Monuments one in between the vaults. Of course, we have Anti-Barrier Shotgun. And when you oscillate and get the debuff on the pulse rifles and subsequently get the buff on shotguns, this thing hits like an absolute truck, nukes barrier champions, and just generally feels really, really good. But what if you don't have Acreus, or you want to play a little bit more long range? And I highly recommend you have at least one person run this alternative loadout in this GM, and that is you're going to notice it's double primary, but like we said, with the oscillation buff, having a shotgun being the only thing to swing the oscillation buff back is not very efficient. So we 100% want an SMG in the kinetic slot, as TJ is displaying here, so that you can oscillate into the Pulse Scout category. TJ is also rocking and rolling with a Polaris Lance, which one is going to give us an anti-barrier scout and an anti-barrier long range option, just in case we have a barrier champion that we're dealing with and the players with Acreus are not able to get in close. But this can also stun unstoppable champions with the perfect 5th exotic perk. Also, you can finally finish things off with a grenade launcher I would recommend to play into the oscillation, void or arc, preferably to align with this week's surges. Now, for class setup, on Hunter, I love running Prismatic Hunter because you're able to stun unstoppable champions. You have invis survivability and things of that nature. My class item is Inmost Light Starter Acne, but you can run absolutely whatever exotic class item you like, whatever fits your playstyle the best. In terms of subclass setup, real important things here are going to be Shadow Shot Deadfall, Facet of Solitude, and Facet of Protection. I'm also going Stylish Executioner, Winter Shroud. You can pretty much run whatever you want here, but this is what I like going with if you want to copy it over. And Dusty, our channel favorite Titan, you guys know him, you love him. He is going with an Inmost Light Syntheseps exotic class item, once again, you can run really whatever you want. It's up to you. And he is running the same SMG pulse rifle Acreus setup that I am running on his prismatic subclass here. You can go Twilight Arsenal to align with the Void Surge. You could go Thunder Crash as well if you would prefer that. I'd probably go with the Twilight Arsenal instead, though, unless you want to run Chorus of the Falling Star along with the Thunder Crash. Knockout and Consecration and Shackle Grenade, standard for being able to stun unstoppable champions easily with Ignitions or Shackles, or Suspends, rather. Sorry. Once again, can take a screenshot, copy it if you'd like. TJ is our Warlock, showing off what I've said many times is probably the best loadout for Warlocks for Grandmaster Nightfalls this season. You know it, you love it. Speaker's Sight, Helmet, Healing Turret, all that good stuff. Hellion, Touch of Flame. Kind of dealer's choice whether or not you go Song of Flame or Well of Radiance here. I think Well of Radiance is going to be better in a situation where your entire team knows where to position in the boss room. So I actually would encourage TJ to go Well of Radiance here in our run, and I would recommend you go Well of Radiance in your runs, because we're going to show you exactly where to position in the boss room to make this a piece of cake. If you're not as comfortable trusting your teammates, I would instead encourage Song of Flame, so you have that emergency button if they all die and you need to stay alive and you need to go and get reses. Obviously, other biggest important part, as well as Ember of Benevolence to go in with that Speaker Sight Helmet. And then I like having the Warlock on the Polaris Lance set up, just because the Warlock, generally speaking, is going to be playing a little bit more at range, whereas the Titan and Hunter are going to be playing a little bit more close. So with those loadouts set up, let me show you exactly how you're going to want to beat this GM. Obviously, you're going to need some teammates for this GM if you don't have people to run this with. Highly recommend using the LFG channel in my Discord server, linked in the description below. Nice thing about the LFG channel in my Discord is that obviously it's going to be comprised of people that also watch all of these same guide videos and that are a part of the Mactics community. And so you're not really going to have to roll the dice with going on regular LFG and wondering whether or not those teammates you find on there are going to know what they're doing, know what strategies to do, know what builds to run. Typically, when you grab people from the LFG in my Discord server, you're going to guarantee that they know what's what, they know the strategies, and it's always going to be a solid run. So let me show you exactly how to play this bad boy. What I like doing as frequently as possible is I kind of just like spraying the SMG at stuff as much as I can, so that I can start building up that weapon damage decay for the SMG shotgun group, which allows me to then pull out the pulse rifle, which is going to be my long range option, with a 3x weapon damage boost. I think it accounts, I think it ends up being like 30-ish%, 30 to 40%, somewhere around there. But the way you want to play this oscillation buff, and it's going to feel very, very wonky at first. This is probably not going to be a GM that you end up farming quite a bit. But I love just kind of getting, since my SMG is my close range weapon, and in GMs you're not typically close range, I really like just kind of spraying enemies from far away. I don't really care if I'm doing damage to them or not, just so I can get the X3 damage boost on my pulse rifle. Now, in this beginning area, you want to make sure you blow up this Thresher before you worry about anything else. And I highly recommend positioning kind of close to the wall and plinking away at it, just getting a little peek angle, because this thing's missiles that it shoots at you track hard. Like, they're borderline impossible to dodge if they actually get a good track on you. So, and see, now I have my weapon damage decay ×3 on my pulse rifle. So now I'll pull out my SMG and spray with the SMG. See, even right there, I almost died to the Thresher. But once you take the Thresher out, I really like just kind of staying on this back area right here against this wall and playing nice and slowly and taking everything out. The Scion snipers in the back of the map do pose a large problem, so I do recommend trying to take those out. That Barrier Colossus right there, thanks to having TJ on the long range setup with the Polaris Lance, that makes us able to take out barrier shields without myself or Dusty having to push in with Acreus. There are a couple situations where you don't really want to push the barrier champions, so having that long range option is what makes that really nice. We're now at a decay ×3 on the SMG, which means our pulse is at a boost ×3. So I'm going to use this opportunity with my long-range weapons on a boost to take out all of the Scion snipers in the back, because they do pose a large threat. Once they are all dead, we can start working our way through the champions. As you can see, the Acreus does do a lot of work if you can get that weapon damage boost on it. And, you know, take everything out. Nice and easy, and then we'll be on our way. We're going to take this little jump cannon here, and do be careful taking this jump cannon because you are going to go right into a cluster of gladiators and close range enemies. So just be aware of that. This guy usually has a Bane as well. At least one of them will have a Bane at least. These guys are a little brutal to deal with. I wouldn't fault you either for waiting until you have supers to cross this gap. Waiting until you have like the Twilight Arsenal, waiting until you have Tether, wait until you have Well. Because this area is kind of rough. You got dogs that charge you right here. Probably best to wait for a super just to play it safe. I think that would be the smart strategy because, as you can see, Dusty and I are a little pinned into a corner. Just using whatever weapon has the damage boost at the current moment. Now, before you cross this bridge, make sure you kill these Scion snipers over here. Either from long range or by cutting across to take them out. Because they hurt big time. They will one-shot you. And you don't want to be messing with them one bit. Barrier Colossus. I've got TJ on that Polaris Lance to slowly whittle down that shield so I don't have to worry about pushing up. I'm going to kill any of the explosive barrels that I see just so I don't have to worry about an enemy whacking them and blowing me up. All these enemies are down. This area is definitely... Make sure you respect this area right here. It's very dangerous. Once we take this portal open, we're going to run straight forward to the back left. And you're going to want to be careful of this Barrier Colossus right here. So we're going to kind of loop around through the back side, because the first thing we want to do is kill this Barrier Colossus before we worry about anything else. We don't want to worry about that enemy over there. So we're going to flank away at all these legionaries with whatever our weapon damage boost is. And this is one where we can get a little bit closer with the Acreus. As you can see, Dusty just tore him apart. And then once we have all of these enemies dead, we can start working our way over here and pushing this Centurion. Now, once we kill the Centurion, he's going to drop a core. And he's also going to spawn some enemies back in this wall, one of which will be a Barrier Colossus. We're basically going to want to jump those enemies as quickly as humanly possible. So I'm going to pick up this solar charge. And then these enemies are going to spawn here. I'm then going to drop the solar charge. I don't really care about dunking it. I'm just going to pop my tether in here, and I'm going to help the boys out. Because this is our safe room. This is where we want to hang. So we're just going to let all of the enemies that are going to push into us hop down and funnel into us. It's okay if that core ends up disappearing. And we're just going to chill out. And we're going to play things at our own pace. That is then going to bring out another Centurion. I actually have not tested this yet. I don't know whether or not it's going to spawn another pack of enemies in there once we kill the new Centurion that spawned. I think if TJ and Dusty want to go ahead and set up in that room just in case it does. Meanwhile, I can grab the ball and get the dunk off. See if it spawns more enemies in that room. Looks like it's not going to. So you can... Last time we were just quick enough killing the enemies and we got the dunk off without the guy having to respawn. That time we were a little slower, but that's fine. So we're going to get the dunk off, and then we're going to stay back in this room because we have a Thresher coming in. And so we want to stay all the way back here as we deal with the Thresher, because that thing is scary. And so we are going to drop the Thresher before we worry about doing anything else. If you take too long, the Thresher will rotate over... So you can see it started to turn and make its rotation. The Thresher will rotate over to that area. So just be aware of that. If you take a little too long to kill it and it starts flying away, it is not going to fly away entirely. You are still going to have to deal with it. It's just going to be over in that skybox instead of right next to us. Thankfully, you've got some allies that are going to help pretty significantly. So we love that. But we're basically just going to work our way through all these enemies here. Use whatever weapon you have the weapon damage boost on. So I'm using the pulse rifle. Now I'm accruing decay on the pulse rifle. So I've got X2 decay on the pulse. Take out these Scion snipers. And then I believe we should have an unstop somewhere. There he is. And so, like I said, now I have X3 boost on the Acreus. 2 shots the unstops. The modifier is really, really, really wonky at first and really weird to get used to, but once you start to get a rhythm of the modifier and swapping your weapons and teeing up and getting ready for knowing that you're going to have a champion coming up and knowing that you're about to deal with a close range target and intentionally shooting enemies with the pulse so that you get the decay on the pulse, which gives you the buff on the Acreus. Once you start to get a rhythm for the modifier, it doesn't feel nearly as bad. It is very, very wonky to get used to, though. I will warn y'all on that. As we come over here, we're going to have a couple of trash mobs, and we are also going to have another thresher that's going to fly on by. As with all of the previous threshers, we're going to make sure we take out this thresher before we worry about anything else. So we're just going to spray this phalanx with our SMG. Looked like there was a legionnaire that made it out. And we are going to smoke this thresher before we do a single thing. You'll notice how my peaks are just kind of, I'm barely poking my head out because that thresher's missiles are really scary. I'm just shooting its butt right now. Those things are dangerous. But now that it's dead, we're good to continue on out. And we've got that unstoppable champion stun. I'm going to take out this gladiator personally. And then we got one more stun on the unstop. Oh, I guess it wasn't stunned. Maybe? I don't really know. It must have not been stunned, I suppose. But we're just going to work our way through these enemies. Unstop. Once you start to make your way up this hill, be a little careful of this ship because it does have a gun mounted on it. Right at the front. So we're just going to do some SMG damage. And you can see that gun on the ship right there. I'll zoom in with my pulse so you have an easier time seeing it. I'm actually going to focus on taking these enemies out first instead. Pop my Transcendence. Get this finisher, so I go invis. Oh, I completely missed my unstop stun. Damage boost ×2 on the Acreus. Easy kill. I'm trying to... Whoa. Not cool. Take out this barrier colossus. I'm trying to show the turret on the ship. You can see it right there. I literally just blew it off. But the range isn't crazy on it, so you can, as you can see where I was, it was never shooting at me. But yeah, it's going to be, you can see the where it was mounted right there. So make sure you can shoot it enough and the turret will break. Then you're going to kill a tanky Cabal enemy, pick up the core it drops, dunk the core, that's going to release the prisoners. And then you can start making your way out here. I like to drop my tether here because all of these enemies push into it. You can kind of choke point them pretty well. Got an unstop. Tether could have probably been back just a scooch. But, you know, that's okay. Still carving through everything, no problem. Once we get this pack of enemies killed, I personally really like to push over to this left side because we're going to have some Scion snipers on the left and right, and I like taking them out right away. So there's one of them, the one on the left, and then we're going to have a Scion sniper over here as well. And I just like smoking them because those sniper enemies are always really, really dangerous. As you can see... Oh, that's my teammates to rush my res. You can see the other sniper kind of jumping around across the way. But yeah, those snipers are definitely #1 priority. So Dusty is my hero. He's going to come over and get me. I'm keeping an eye out for that Scion sniper. When I don't see the Scion sniper, I'll just take out... That legionary, that super tanky legionary is also a sniper target. That Scion keeps jumping down and hiding behind that that piece of cover right there. Which, I mean, you know, if he doesn't have line of sight on... If you don't have line of sight on him, he doesn't have line of sight on you, so I guess it's okay if you can't see him. So there's the Scion sniper dead. Gonna work our way through the rest of these targets. And then we've got a tanky fella over here who's going to drop our core. Hit him with a quick grapple. Do a little finisher. Pick up the core, nice and easy. That part's not too bad, just especially because you have those Cabal allies. Those Cabal allies are absolute monsters. Then we'll pull out our hoverboards. And it is tank time. So this is going to be an interesting one. This is going to be a situation where you're pretty much just going to want to spam enemies with your SMG just to build up the weapon damage boost stacks for your long-range pulse rifle. And then you'll plink away at stuff with your pulse rifle until your pulse rifle gets to weapon damage decay 1 or 2 or what have you. And then you'll pull the SMG back out strictly just to... Careful of that tank right there. Strictly just to spray and get that weapon damage decay built up on the SMG so you can build the weapon damage boost on the pulse rifle. I'm pretty much putting most of my focus on the Goliath tank, as you can see. Doesn't really matter what you hit, though, as long as you hit something. You can also put some heat into the Unstoppable Incendiar. Your choice. Be very careful of those tank shots, though, as you can see. Since we have someone down, I'll actually probably just play things safe. Try and get some shots in if I can. Body shots, just to get the weapon damage decay going. And tank is dead, which makes us a lot safer to move in. Be a little careful, though. There's a ton of Scion snipers over here on this left side platform. Highly recommend dealing with them before you continue to push up, because snipers in the strike are very, very scary. 2 more. I don't know if I showcased my mods for this GM, by the way. Apologies if I did not, but solar resistances, if that wasn't obvious by now. Gonna have a bunch of mobs spawn over there, one of which is gonna be a barrier champion. Dusty absolutely floored them, though, with his consecration. After you take them all out, you're gonna have some gladiators that you're gonna deal with. You know, some more trash mobs. Nothing crazy. I think an unstoppable champion is among this pack, if I recall correctly. So we're just going to chip away at everything. Got that decay stacking. Gonna wait for him to be stunnable. Boom. Oh, come on. I didn't get my shot off. Dusty did, though. So for this area, we're going to have our Tormentor. However, it takes a bit of time for them to spawn in, so after you interact with this console, you're actually going to ignore here and focus exclusively on spawn trapping all of these dogs. Just make sure you're fast about it. And then by the time because the shield's going to be coming down while these dogs are coming out. Once you have all the dogs spawn trapped, by that time, this shield's going to come down. You're going to be able to fight these enemies. Careful of the Scorpius turrets. Try and take them out if you can. I'm just going to throw some spikes. Mainly focusing on the trash mobs, just because the Tormentor doesn't really aggro us very hard. We're just going to plink away at him. Take out his shoulders, take out the Scorpius turrets once we get our damage boost. If he summons the purple thing, you can shoot at the purple thing to make it disappear. I don't know how many people know that. But if you shoot at the purple thing enough, it'll disappear. And then eventually, you're going to have some more trash mobs that are going to spawn. So as the Tormentor makes its way towards us over here, we're going to kind of back up a little bit. Kill its purple whatever thing. And chip away at the Tormentor's shoulders. And then once we send it into its rage frenzy mode, it's going to spawn some additional Scion snipers. So now he's pissed off, and now some Scion snipers are going to spawn over on the right side. And they like to path over here. Once again, Scion snipers very, very dangerous, so being aware that they're going to spawn. They spawn right out of that door over there. And they like to run across. That's when you get the Tormentor to 50% HP and he goes in his like enraged mode. So making sure you have someone ready to take care of those, very, very important. Tormentor's also a mini-boss Tormentor, so he is finishable once he's at about 16% HP, give or take, 1/6 of his total HP bar, so another thing to keep in mind. Typically, I would recommend a disorienting grenade launcher, because it completely shuts down mini-boss Tormentors, but don't really have the luxury of running one of those, given the oscillation modifier in this current version of the GM. This modifier very much changes things up, makes the play very, very different. So once we hack that door, I like pushing down here. We're going to take out this phalanx. And then, of course, the boss is going to spawn his turrets. So we're just going to take out all of the adds, take out all the boss's turrets. They hurt very much, so be careful. Looks like they're all down. We have a drain phalanx. I'm not really messing with that, so I'm going to tether this, to be honest. I'm sure I'll have it back soon enough. I'm not messing with a drain phalanx. Thank God he is dead. Oh, Dusty just smoked that guy with his Acreus. And just going to slowly but surely work our way through this section. Scorpius turrets being the #1 priority. Because they hurt. Nice thing is they can be outranged pretty easily, so not the biggest deal. So right now I have ×3 on my Acreus, so I'm going to try and go invis and get in. And I have anti-barrier shotgun, so of course, smash right through his shield. Smash right through his shield. That's why I love having the Hunters and the Titans on the Acreus, because they, they just love to play at closer ranges. Whereas the Warlock we like on that Polaris loadout. Back things up a bit. Oh, hello. I don't know how that guy got up here, but definitely didn't like that. Sorry, Dusty. Chip away at this Incendior. And I'm gonna ready up my weapon damage boost for my pulse rifle as well. So I have ×2, I'm fine with that. Get the res. And we're gonna head up to the boss room. Now this area, you want to be very, very, very particular of. We are going to just kind of crouch right here, and we're going to get ready to basically jump off of this platform once we get to the top and sprint this direction. You can even use Ball of Radiance here if you'd like. Honestly, probably best to save it. Don't really need it here. But the second that you're able to hop over here, we're going to book it over here, because there's going to be a ton of Scorpius turrets that spawn, and we're just going to carefully take them all out, because if you stay on this platform, all of these Scorpius turrets will eat you alive, and your run will instantly be over. So we're going to make sure every single Scorpius turret is dead, and it does look like that they are. And once all the Scorpius turrets are dead, you basically have free reign to chip away at the boss for probably, I don't know, I'm going to maybe say 20% of his HP. And then once he pulls up his computer, that means he's teleporting over to his tower. And we're just going to play this big pillar to kill all of the Scorpius turrets in the middle. We're not going to peek through right side, though, because the boss has that sniper on us. We're just going to chip away at all of these Scorpius turrets. And all of these trash mobs that are going to begin to push on us. If you have a Well of Radiance available, this could be a good time to use it, if you'd like. Or if you're confident that you can dispatch all of the trash mobs without it, you can hang on to it. So we're just going to plank away at everything. Centurion's going to be a point of emphasis. You can also send another player if you'd like, so you don't have everyone kind of cooped up on the same spot. You can send a player onto this pillar. So so that for AoE attacks, you're a little bit safer. And then once you have every single thing dead right there, you can then push up a little bit towards the boss and start plinking away at him again. You do kind of want to hover by that pillar, though, that we were just by. And you'll see why in a brief moment. As he shoots his little flare into the sky, that is going to mark the time for Well of Radiance. So TJ is going to slap down his Well of Radiance. We have a tanky dude right here. And the Cabal bring in the ship. The reason we want the Well of Radiance is so we are completely safe from the gun of the ship as we completely fry the airship's gun, because that thing hurts. So we're just going to chill in the well. Gun is down, which means we can now turn our attention to all of the trash mobs. Now, you'll notice that core right there on the ground. When it despawns, a Cabal meteor will fly in. Oh, maybe, maybe not. Usually the Cabal meteor flies in. That guy just kind of phased in. Sometimes it seems like a meteor flies in. Sometimes I guess maybe he just TP spawns in. I don't really know. Either way, do your best to kind of stay around this position. You can use a tether as well here to get your ad clearing. But effectively, we're just kind of playing this this pillar right here. You can also walk out into this airfield, this back area, if you need to. And we're just playing nice and slow. Now that every single thing is dead in the arena, I'm going to grab this core. And I'm going to have my teammates all come over here with me. We got one more guy up, it looks like. So we'll take him out. And we're going to dunk this core here. And we're actually... Do not position underneath this pillar like we were on the previous one, because it basically lights on fire. We're instead going to want to position her right down here. And wait for this pillar to collapse. And from here, you have a lot of different angles. This is a really nice and safe angle, if you want to kind of play around here. But effectively, similar to previous runs, we're just going to whittle down at all the odds. Nice thing here is you get a bunch of allies as well. So you're going to have your allied units that are going to help out when it comes to clearing out all of the ads. Boss is going to roam around trying to snipe. Mainly war beasts, as you can see. So we're just going to chip away at all of these guys. And then we can work our way over here. As you can see, got some Scorpius turrets right here, so be aware of those. I think there's two there normally, but looks like one of them got destroyed. And then we can push up just a little bit and start chipping away at the boss. You can even get a little ballsy if you'd like and try and get a shot at Acreus in. Probably not a great idea. Now we got some more dogs spawning. And some more Scorpius turrets that'll be spawned by the boss. And keep chipping away at him until eventually he is going to head out and he's going to hop into his tower up there. So as you can see, he went immune. He's up in the tower now. Now we're going to retreat and go back to our happy safety spot. We actually don't have to go all the way back there quite yet. That's going to be the spot we go to once we whittle the boss down a little bit more, because he is going to spawn some ads right here once he goes up into his tower. Just a couple, nothing crazy. So we're going to kill all the ads. I'm going to go rescue Dusty. Nice thing is you have all of your allied Cabal, the, you know, Keidel's Cabal, and they help you out big time, so pretty safe. And this is this part upcoming right here is where you really want to be 100% sure that you have a Well of Radiance. So I'm going to look at TJ. He does, in fact, have Well of Radiance. Boss has gone immune. This is where a Thresher is going to make its way in. And as we know, Threshers are lethal. So we're just going to play... Like I said, this spot is immaculate. This is where you're going to want to use the Well of Radiance, by the way, to take out this Thresher. And don't think that you're safe in the Well of Radiance, by the way. That Thresher will still nuke you right through that Well of Radiance. But I love having one player kind of hang out over here. As you can see, Dusty just got fried despite being in the well. Because this Thresher hurts. So we're just going to spray away at it. Use heavy. Use whatever you got to use. Kill that Thresher. That is the #1 priority. Because he is going to nuke you. Once the Thresher is down, we're allowed to start pushing up then and whittling away at all of the adds. And then we've got the tanky fella. That's going to drop the core that we're going to need to grab. Be a little careful of your positioning here, though, because the boss does have a snipe angle on you while you're over here. And we don't quite want to dunk the core yet, because we want to make sure every single thing is dead. We got some Cabal Meteors that have come in, so I'm going to drop the ball, and we're just going to focus on killing all these enemies. I'll even drop a tether in the mix. And it's okay if you let the ball despawn and end up killing a second... Oh, we've got a Drain Centurion. I'm not messing with that. Just know that if you do let the ball despawn, a new enemy will spawn in via Cabal Meteor right here. Or at least that's what happened to us in our previous run. In this run, it seems he just phased in. So I don't really know why sometimes they're just magically phasing in. Other times they drop in by a meteor. But be careful, I suppose. I don't know what the rhyme or reason. Generally speaking, if you stay on this side of the arena, none of the Cabal Meteors drop over there, so you'll be pretty good. Then we're going to dunk the Solar Charge. And we're just going to try to play one of our safe angles. So it's either going to be the far side of the map over there, or the far side of the map over here. Just working together as a team. Honestly, you can either go for the one-shot on the boss, or, to be honest, you can let the... Uh-oh. That's a little risky. You can go for the one-shot on the boss, or you can just kind of roam around continuously and let your Cabal allies do a lot of the work. Couple things to be careful of, though. If you are going to play around in this arena, the boss, when he does come back out, he spawns more Scorpius turrets. So just being aware of those. Honestly, safest bet is probably to wait before you dunk the core. Wait for every single person on your team to have their supers. Dunk the core, and then head over into one of the corners, and then the boss will naturally kind of push towards you in one of those corners, and then you can triple super the boss and insta one-shot him, and then he'll be good to go. So, hope you found this guide helpful. Again, this is a very weird GM. This is a very peculiar one, specifically because of the modifier, but with these loadouts, it makes it not too bad. Probably not one I'd recommend farming a whole lot, but, you know, world's your oyster. So, if you found this guide helpful, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see future guides. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.